welcome back to another episode of Master Your Life with Kate McKay. I am so thrilled you joined me, and I am also extremely excited about introducing my guest, Jennifer Loehding. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Kate. So excited to be here with you today.
Let's go. Let's go. You know, it's always a challenge because you get on the Zoom and then all of a sudden you start talking about everything and you're like, wait, we got to stop. We got to hit the record button. And that was absolutely the case today. So I'm just going to do a quick bio read on you, and you're calling in from Texas. Is that right?
I am.
You are. All right. Right on. So here we go. Jennifer is a work-life strategist, a certified DreamBuilder coach, author, speaker, blogger, and the host creator of Dum Thump Starter Girls and Behind the Dreams podcast. And I'll absolutely be sharing your content information because I know people are going to want to find you. They're going to want to reach out to you, and they're going to absolutely want to hear more. I just want to start off just really on a conversation that we touched in on, but when did you know that you were different?
Oh my goodness.
Like, when was that time when you're like, man, I don't fit in with this like paradigm of girl?
Kate, I think from the very beginning, I think I've always known this even as a child. You know, it's funny. I always feel like, or let me take this back a second. I had a gal come on my podcast probably right before the pandemic hit. And I've never forgotten something she said. You know, she said that your gifts or strengths always find you. And funny enough, you know, as a child, I remember doing things and not being able to ever really fit into cliques. Like I just didn't fit into the girl cliques, right? But there was always this pressure of you're supposed to be a girl, and how do you not want to be with girls, but you want to hang out with dudes, right? And so I just think I've known all along, but I think it's taken me many, many years to get to a place where I just embrace that I'm okay being who I am and being a little bit different.
And can you describe a time where you really felt that, like that you didn't fit in? Because, you know, it's like that journey to mastery is really looking at what were the stories of what society or even our inner selves, our parents, our friends told us, and that we believed, and yet we knew we were out of integrity by accepting that truth.
Yeah. Well, I think there have been many, but, you know, interestingly enough, I shared with you that I was in the network marketing space for a very, very long time. I started, you know, back in 1999, I think I was 26 or 27 years at the time. And I thought, you know, I was really sold on the whole idea of being an entrepreneur because my parents had been entrepreneurs. So I really kind of grew up in that, I say, culture of entrepreneurship. And so I went into, you know, the Mary Kay bubble, the pink bubble, and really thought that was going to be my calling. And there were things that I loved about it. I loved the mentorship. I loved having the accessibility to mentorship. But I realized even going through all of that, the parts I loved were being in the entrepreneur space, but I just didn't really care about the makeup part of things. I mean, that was a red flag. I didn't care about the girl time. Let's get together and have these ra-ras. And I didn't need all that. I just didn't need it. I needed strong leadership, mentorship. I needed people to be walking in front of me, leading by example. And they were doing a lot of that, but there were just these other parts that I knew that it was like, you know what? I want to be an entrepreneur, but I need to shift that. And I will tell you the defining moment was, this is crazy story. It was right smack dab in the middle of right after I'd been diagnosed with my health condition. So probably around 2014, 15, I'm on my treadmill, which we don't have anymore. We have a new exercise equipment. I'm walking on this thing and I'm actually reading the Strength Finders book. And I only had to read my part because I was going to train on it. And I think it was on discipline or something like that. And I go in and this light bulb moment goes off and I'm like, oh my goodness, all the things that I knew that I really, really loved were the things that I was really, really good at, right? I wasn't good at some of these other things, which were having these just the camaraderie and all of that. I really needed leadership. I needed that. And so for me,
what
it just really was like,
was that, Jennifer?
I can't remember which one it was because I'm a visionary. Part of it was I'm a visionary, and I can't remember. One of them was discipline, and I'm drawing a blank on it. But I know there are 5 of them in there, and it was like this light bulb went off, and I was
nailed it.
Everything I knew that I loved, it was I loved taking people across the finish line. I loved it. All of the superficial conversation and all that underneath, having to coax people from here to here in the middle was just not my thing. And that's what a lot of what I felt was in there. And so I just realized that, you know, I'm at the place where I knew I needed to be, I was different, and I needed that direct conversation, direct communication, direct leadership, and somebody that's going to lead, they have to be in the field.
That's so powerful to have that level of clarity, to know that you needed leadership and that you didn't have to do it alone. Yeah, that's pretty significant. So can you describe for us your favorite failure?
Oh my gosh, I've had so many, Kate. I laugh. I've had so many. Probably, gosh, I think there's so many. I think I tell this story in January of 2018. I was sitting in this workshop, and the number one leader, was another company I had moved into. I was still in Mary Kay, but I moved into another company. They were the original patent finders of the skinny coffee. If you remember when the skinny coffee came around. So they were from Boca Raton. They came to Dallas. They were launching in Dallas. My friend and I were kind of spearheading it out here. And so I'm sitting in this leadership conference, and the number one female in the company is giving this presentation. And she had just gotten through working with John Maxwell, which I love John Maxwell. She had had hands-on training with him, wrote a book with him. And she's sitting in this room, and I'm in a bad state, a really bad place. I had just come out of my medical condition. I had, by all rights, everybody looking at me on the outside, looking outside would say, oh my gosh, she just survived this huge medical condition. Her husband's doing well. Her kids are doing really, really well. But I was like dying inside, like literally dying. I hated where I was.
Were you physically dying or
no, emotionally and emotionally? I had realized that I had come to a place in my life where I just hadn't reached fulfillment, right? Everything I had felt like I had done, even though I had all these successes, I'd run marathons, I had, earned cars in a company, I set a company record, and I was just completely unfulfilled. And I talk about that being one of the many failures, but in the moment of that day, I made a decision to do something. It was like I got pinned against a wall, and I realized I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. I didn't want to do this anymore. And so I made a decision to do something different.
You didn't want to do what?
I didn't want to live in that. I didn't want to live in that unfulfilled state of not being able to identify myself, not being happy with myself, not forgiving myself for all the things I had done. You know what I mean? Just not being.
So were you just disturbed or disgusted, or how would you describe that?
I was sad.
Sad. Yeah,
I was sad because I felt like I had had so much success in my life, but I felt like I had nothing to show for it. I felt like I had nothing to show. Powerful. And you know what I mean?
And make note of that, viewers and listeners, because you may be, from the outside, people may think of us as you have everything, and yet we can be hollow inside. Right. And that's such an important pivotal point, is that here you were, by all appearances, having everything, and you felt like you had nothing.
Exactly.
Powerful.
Yeah, I felt sad. But I say that, and the reason I say that, I came to realize, because what happened that day is that was really not, I don't want to say that was the catalyst to my first change, because I think getting my medical condition was the stage.
What was the medical condition? Because people are going to wonder.
Yeah, well, 2012, I got diagnosed with a rare nerve condition called trigeminal neuralgia, and it affects the nerves on the left side of my face. So it's an extremely painful condition. They call it a suicide disease. And thankfully, I got it under control. I was able to reverse the health condition, get it under control. But that day in 2018 was a very sad day for me. But I say it was kind of like my second coming to Jesus moment. It was the day that I said something has to change. And it's so funny. People ask me, they're like, "What did you do that day? What was the change?" And you're just gonna laugh when you hear this, Kate, because that speaker got up that day and she said something along the lines, John Maxwell says, if you do these 5 things, your life will never be the same. And I'm thinking in that moment only about my business, because I'm thinking it's external. If I do this one change in my business, I'm going to be happy. At this moment, I'm still not figuring out it's internal, right? I'm still thinking tied to my business. So I'm thinking, well, I know how to sell. I know how to book people. I know how to coach people. I know how to recruit people. I know how to do all the things. But what's the one thing I can do for me that has nothing to do with my business? The one thing I can do for me. And that day I decided to pick up a book, start reading. That was the day that I made the single decision for me. And the reason why I say that is so powerful is because I'd never been a reader. I had never been, I could read, I know how to read, but I had never been the person that understood, why do we need to really learn more? We learned, right? Like I had a fixed mindset. Wow. And that was like the biggest thing for me, because once I picked up a book, I started reading Dale Carnegie, John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar. I would finish a book, I'd open another one, finish a book, open another one. And I'm telling you, it was that year, that was in 2018. That year was the year I wrote my book, launched my podcast, formed my LLC, all these amazing things started happening because I made that single decision. And so I always say my failure in that was really getting to a place where I realized I felt like I had nothing, and taking me that long to do it, taking me that many years to do it. But the beauty of that is that it took me that many years to do it. And I came on the other side to recognize what was going on.
It's almost like you tapped into the hunger to know more. And it's such a boost. In psychological terms, I often talk about this, and because people will ask me, Kate, how can you be so confident? That's a thematic for me. And I'm like, oh, if you only know what I've gone through, right?
Exactly.
the hardship and the self-loathing and all the things that happens, But the thing is about the confidence is that the only way confidence grows is in action. The only way. And the only way that we can grow our competency is to take action. And so there's a direct link between our competency and our confidence. So by you taking that plunge and realizing there is so much for me to know, that you needed to commit to that, to the knowingness. So what would you say to somebody, Jennifer, that feels that sense of hopelessness or sadness that by all appearances they feel as a hollow shell?
I would say to them, explore, because I think you don't have to be smart to explore, right? I won't say that I'm the smartest person in the world, but if there's something that doesn't feel right in my gut, if something feels off to me, I'm going to investigate. And I did this with my medical condition. I've done this with everything. If somebody tells me I can't do something, then that prompts me to go investigate, because I want to know why they're telling me that it can't be done, right? Like I want to know. And so I think when you're in a place of feeling hopeless, I think what I would say is know that the reason you're there, you need to find something. You need to do some digging and figure out why you are there. Because for me, I really went in and started digging. What was my unhappiness about? And I realized I was feeling some voids. There were some things in my life that I hadn't come to terms with, and they were manifesting very, very differently in all the areas of my life. So they were showing up in my business. They were showing up in my personal relationships. They were showing up with how I was spending money, and they were showing up in how I felt about myself. And so I learned that taking care of me had to be number one. It had to be about how can I do something every day to pour into myself, because the more I did that, the stronger I became, the more confident I became, and it made all the things on the outside flow more freely. So I don't have all these, these issues. I talk about chasing goals and crises. I think very similar. You get the same highs and the same lows. You reach a goal, you're high right after. You think, what's next, right? When I came out of my medical condition, I solved it. I'm like, great, I did this. Nobody's been able to do this. I got something. And then I'm like, oh, what next? And so I think just exploring, saying it's okay to feel that way, but you don't have to stay there. Explore, find out why you're there.
How do you measure success by that? If you're thinking about the people that pursue goals like that and looking for that dopamine hit of, the chase for success, how do you measure fulfillment?
Interested in learning more about a mastermind with Kate McKay? Reach out to us on our website at kate-mckay.com.
Oh my goodness. You know what it is for me, Kate? It's doing what you love to do, being happy in your own skin, and pairing that up with your talents. Just if you can, and serving other people, if you can find a way to I don't care if it's your job. If you play piano, go play the piano, do it, and what will happen is, even if you don't end up making a career out of playing piano, it's going to spark some ideas. I'm getting chills telling you this right now, because this is what I tell my clients. It's going to create some kind of fire in you. And when there's a fire inside of you, ideas start to come about. And that may be the idea that lets you find the thing you're supposed to be doing. So for me, it's really just about doing what I love to do, pairing that up with my gifts, and then being able to serve other people, help other people in some way. It's not even about money for me. I love, we want the money, right? Because that's the fun stuff. But I don't even care about that half the time. I really just love doing what I do.
Right. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. So what is that evolution? This is just an important fact. I mean, you're a little younger than me, but it's this whole idea behind being a strong woman, but still having that balance of understanding that we are really the divine, just being the feminine. I often say I was always grateful that I was a woman. I never had, penis envy or something. And I think it's just because I always knew that I was the lucky one just by the basis of my biology. Like, wait a minute, we're here to receive. Like, I always picture like the Hindu goddesses with their arms up, like, hands up, palms up like that, Why do you think women fight that truth? that we are enough as divine beings and we don't have to prove things in the same way. And yet be still strong and powerful and sexy and vibrant and not have to do.
This is so hard. I think this is such a hard question, isn't it? Because I feel like we do deal with this so much. There's so much social pressure. You know, honestly, Kate, I think women are harder on women than men by far. I think we are so critical of ourselves and we're critical of everybody else. And I've always said this, when I'm around strong, powerful women, I feel so good because there is no competition. They feel good about themselves. I feel good about myself. We don't feel the need to judge and be envy, right? And I think so much of it, you know, when I think about my childhood, and I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing. You know, my parents were baby boomers. I'm a Gen Xer, and maybe some of it's how we were reared, right? Like the rules that we had, and, you know, we were told to do certain things and that's changed so much. The female, you know, the female now is so independent in a lot of ways, right? But we're still trying to tell them they can't. There's like this, I feel like it's a paradox. On one hand, they want to be strong, like, right? They want to be strong and told, don't tell me I can't do anything. But on the other hand, they still want to say, okay, but I'm still kind of weak and I can't. It's like this paradox.
Want to be rescued.
Well,
that's why I was so disturbed, just to be honest, with the whole 50 Shades of Grey, whatever it is.
Me too.
Because I was like, wait a minute, I'm so confused by this. And the reason why, it was like, all right, 17-year-old girls and like older women are reading this, and there's something in this book that women resonate with. And I was like, I do not resonate.
I didn't either. I hated it. It made me so mad. I
was so upset. And then what I realized, that it is the ultimate story of what you and I are talking about, that you can be strong and you can surrender, and they're not oppositions.
You know what else, Kate? As I'm thinking about this, think about our Disney Golden books when we were kids, Snow White, Cinderella, all of those. You know, we were taught that we read these books, and I'm not saying they're bad books, but we were somehow read these, and we were, you know, and we talk about how all the thing, you know, a lot of the stuff we learn is in the very early years of our lives, right? And these values and stuff, they get kind of cemented into our brain. So if you think about, you know, these books that we read when we were children about this, you know, this Prince Charming is going to come and save us, right? We're saving ourselves for this Prince Charming. And so I think there's this pull back and forth that, oh my gosh, we're looking for this Prince Charming, but we want to be independent, but we want this Prince Charming. We want to be independent. And I'm at a stage now where I'm just like, listen, girl, go do your thing. Be strong. Take care of yourself. Your Prince Charming will show up. But here's the deal. When he does, you're going to be so much stronger. You're going to be in a great place because he will complement you. He will be the addition to you, not the savior, right? Like he will be your addition.
But what is then the story then behind that? What's your perception then on that 50 Shades of Grey? Because like the part that was so tragic for me was the man was so dominant and yet he was broken. And that was so upsetting to me as a cultural reflection, that the woman is strong. She's got to be forced to surrender by ultimately the man who was broken, had mommy issues. What does that say about our freaking culture, girl?
Oh, I don't know. It's that movie just, you know, it's so funny because I haven't even I haven't read the book. I've watched some of the movies and couldn't even get through it. Like I watched probably 15, 20 minutes and I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's irritating me so badly. Turn it off.
But why do you think it's irritating you? Because I have never, ever met someone that was as irritated as I was by it.
Yeah. Well, you and I are on this. I think you and I are on the same page. I think because there's some element of sexy to that, right? Like women want to have this powerful man in their life that can come in and be like their savior, their Prince Charming, right? And I think it goes back to, and this may be from working with all the people, you know, the people that I've worked with, but also my own dialogue that I had for a very long time, in that we'll take them even if they're broken. Like if they give us something that gives us this mystery, like the bad guy thing, right? Like they have this bad energy and we'll take all that comes with it. And I recognize
them.
Yes. And I think that, you know, we can't expect everybody to be perfect. There's no absolutely perfect person out there, right? But I think as we grow and mature, we recognize that, no, we have boundaries, and sexy or not sexy, or dominating or not dominating, it doesn't look so attractive anymore when there's brokenness with it. You know what I mean?
Certainly not to me and you, but I think in our culture, there's a story that's getting interplayed unfortunately in male psychology. And I think that's, I mean, obviously you have a son, I lost a son, and then I have my other son and a daughter, but I just feel as though that's a perfect example of how men are undermined and women are dominating in ways by losing their ability to receive their, to honor and live in the divine reception of who we are as feminine, strong, sensual, sexual beauties that are actually the portals of God in many ways, is how I view it. I feel so lucky to be a girl, right? And that men, how do we honor men to be the ones that ennoble us in ways that honor us, and that we are healing, healthy people, and we meet in our oppositions, and that it's okay to be okay with letting men be men and allowing women to love and honor themselves, so that there is no competition. There is no criticism.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's something powerful when you meet a guy that's like that. They have, a dominant personality. They're confident in their skin, and they don't feel threatened by you. They can see you for who you are and be like, hey, there's no competition here. She's a powerful woman, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
And that's how I feel about powerful women too. When I see them, I'm like, right on, girl, you got it going on. I'm loving it, because you are, look, this is kind of my theory, Kate, when you're strong and you're healthy and you're feeling good about yourself, you're better for the world. You're better for humanity, because you're showing people that things can be done. You're showing people that women can be strong, that they can do things they want to do. Age is not a factor. This is really about you deciding what you want for yourself. And that's how, I didn't always think that way. I turned 50 this year. So I like to say it was my 50 moment, but I think it was starting before that. I think it's just, I'm in a place now where I'm like, you know what, look, we worked hard to get where we are. We've worked hard, and we've had to go through a lot of things and tragedies. And I think it's okay to be who you are. And if people really need to embrace that female, whether we're alpha or not, I think every female has a little bit of alpha in her. It's that giant. We just need to, kind of pull that out a little bit. And they don't have to be full on, anti-men or anything like that, because we're definitely not that. But it's okay to be strong and independent.
Right. And loving and sexy and beautiful and all of these things, So I think people would look at you and go, oh, it's easy for her to say she's so beautiful, right? Because as a woman, as a strong woman, we are judged by our looks. So if we look beautiful, that means, and we take care of ourselves, that must mean that we're vain or self-centered or egoist, which is kind of nuts. I bring this topic up often because I am older than you. And in my times when people were working out, women weren't in the gyms. Right. There was no women on squat racks. You did, because that was too masculine, or that was too vain to be fit. And so part of my humbleness around my fitness and the way that I look is always been because, oh my God, people are going to think I'm just vain, or people are going to think that all I care about is what I look like. And it's like, actually, no, it's actually like now neuroscience is showing that it's actually helps your brain to be strong, and it helps your spirituality because you're grounded in honoring the body, right? So it goes down and back to that, really, instead of just looking at this self-care model. And I love that you talked about this. It was your pivotal moment was, I'm going to self-honor and self-respect in myself in this moment to live with a deeper sense of meaning.
Yeah. And to your point about, what you mentioned earlier about our looks, I mean, here's what I say. Confidence shows a different kind of beauty, and I tell people, go back 27 years ago, go look at me way back when I started this journey back in 1999, when I started in Mary Kay. I was an aerobics instructor for a while. Fitness has always kind of been a part of my life, but I'm an entirely different person now. And so, I say that because all the time people see me now and they go, okay, well, she's got this great podcast. I was the girl that took public speaking in college. I've shared this many, many times, and swore I would never talk in front of a stage ever again. I couldn't barely get up in front of people. I was the girl that would not go to a meeting if I knew that I was going to have to leave early because I didn't want any attention drawn on me. I was that insecure and that shy. So I think confidence brings a different beauty. And that's why you can look at people, I would see people in the network marketing space that would come in one way. And then a couple of years would go by and I'd see them again and be like, oh my gosh, they are I would have never even known if I had, seen them in this time, because I think as you evolve internally, everything evolves. Your smile gets greater, your body presence gets greater, you walk differently. It's everything. So I just say there's a journey to that. Very few people just show up and they're there.
Right.
They're there. You know, some people are gifted and they get born and they're gifted out and somehow they had great families and they come out and they do okay and they're confident, they look great. I feel like everybody's got some kind of baggage. Somebody's got something they got to work through. It's just some of us work through it. And when they come out on that other side, they shine a little bit differently.
Yeah, I love that. I love that concept of that confidence. It brings a different kind of beauty. That's a beautiful expression, honestly. And because it opens up to like, beauty can be anything.
Exactly.
And that's just, that's really a powerful image. I really enjoy that. So if you had, we're winding up, but I just had this question for you. If you had a billboard, what would you want that billboard to say? What do you want people to know, Jennifer?
Am I allowed to say a cuss word on this one?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, good. I would probably say the girl that kicked ass. That's probably what I would say, because for me, life has always been about, and I know people look at me as the girl that does crazy things. She's abnormal. She'll do things other people won't do. But listen, I firmly believe I can't tell somebody to go do something I'm not willing to do. For me, it is strictly freaking integrity. At the end of the day, I would never expect somebody to do something I'm not willing to do. Okay. And I like to, especially for women, I mean, I feel like so many women, when they start getting into the 40s and the 50s, they just start thinking, hey, I'm the mom, I'm the grandma. I got to just wind down. It's like we have the stigma, right? I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that says, hey, if you want to be the 50, 60, 70-year-old woman who says, I want to go bodybuild, or I want to exercise, I want to work my business, I want to say you can do it. And I want to show you that it can be done. So that's what I feel like when I get up every day. It's like, what am I going to do today that's going to just be kick ass, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. So would you want that billboard to say, go kick ass?
I like that. Maybe that. Maybe that. That's good.
Gosh,
that's
the
good.
Best, right? I'm inspired by that. Oh my gosh. Well, I have my book is called Claim Your Inner Badass. So I'm assuming it's okay to say.
love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Jennifer, I just want to thank you for this conversation, your transparency, and your ability to play with such honesty, and your gift of language, your gift of being able to be courageous enough to stand and speak the truth on who you are with such integrity. And it's a pleasure to hear you. It's a pleasure to watch you. And I wish you tremendous success in all the programs that you're launching soon. So stay tuned for Jennifer's amazing stuff. Again, I'm going to share all her links in the show notes. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Kate. You're incredible too. I love watching your stuff. So thank you for allowing me to come on here and chew the garbage, right? The garbage talk. I love it.
Absolutely. Let's just keep leaning into the magic. And until next time, viewers and listeners, do as Jennifer suggests on this billboard that she has streamed across life. And that is, go kick some ass and make today amazing. I'm Kate McKay, and until next time, take good care.
Is it time to claim your inner warrior? Please grab my latest copy of my book, Claim Your Inner Warrior, available now on Amazon.